I hope you have brought a change of underwear. You'll need it after you read this.
For many years, all of us here have prized our good relations with Earth. You have shown through your example that strength comes from a multitude of voices brought together in common cause. Humans form communities. In that spirit, we have voted to dissolve the League of Non-Aligned Worlds and create a new alliance based on mutual cooperation and respect.
It was the end of the Earth year 2261, and it was the dawn of a new age for all of us. It was the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. The next 20 years would see great changes, great joy and great sorrow. The Telepath War and the Drak War. The new alliance would waver and crack, but in the end it would hold. Because what is built endures, and what is loved endures. And Babylon 5 endures.
Now that the war is over, what will become of Babylon 5 and her crew?
You will not leave this room alive.
Walter Koenig guest stars on an all-new Babylon 5.
You have transmissions holding.
Patch incoming signal. Full audio and video decode.
Purple files accessed.
What you are about to see has never been shown to anyone outside the Grey Council.
Welcome back to Grade 17, a Babylon 5 podcast, a part of the Front Row Network and NPR Illinois Community Voices. We're a group of newbies watching Babylon 5 for the very first time, and a group of first ones who have watched Babylon 5 quite a few times. And we are here for the penultimate episode of Season 4, Episode 21, Rising Star. I'm Scott, and with me is...
Blake.
Justin.
Emily.
Kevin.
Nicole.
Mike.
And fucking Jessi.
Before we get started talking about Rising Star, a couple of reminders. Please be sure to check out our social medias. We have Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Right on Twitter right now, we are running our bracket for Season 4, so you can vote on your favorite episodes from the season, and we will be talking about all of that voting when we get to our live Season 4 recap show in a few weeks. Which reminds me, too, to tell you that please be sure to check out our YouTube channel. You can subscribe and click that notify button so you'll know when we do go live. We'll be going live in a few Sundays from now to talk about Season 4. And also, if you are watching on YouTube, be sure to check out the audio podcast, which is linked down below as well. While you're checking all those links, please be sure to leave a review on either Spotify, Audible, or Apple. Apple being the one that helps us out the most. And we got a new review in from our friends up north in Canada. This comes from Chesterton. First ones and first timers, great idea. Remember the days where you would talk about the latest show under the proverbial water cooler? We would bond with our friends, argue about the plot developments, defend the actions of a character that resonated with you, and work out mysteries together. This podcast is exactly that, but without the water cooler. Old friends to each other, but new to us, are watching Babylon 5 together. Some of them are new to science fiction in general. Some have never seen the show, and some have seen it, as they say, far too many times in the 30 years since it first aired. Each person shares their likes or disdain for certain characters. Emily hilariously dislikes some beloved characters, but has stood her ground admirably, and even though I personally disagree with some of her conclusions, she makes many valid points and has noticed details that I never did in 30 years. The team has collectively uncovered plot points that have escaped me over the years, and that has been very rewarding. There are 3 women who are participating and have been a bright spot in this show, as the insights and perspectives they bring have been illuminating, to say the least. Science fiction historically has leaned towards male audiences, and the deliberate decision to invite these 3 talented women to participate has added a unique and valuable angle that many other shows missed. They are nearly to the end of the show, currently in the home stretch of season 4. I really am looking forward to hearing what their new voices think of season 5. It's been a wonderful ride so far, and if you are a fan at all of Babylon 5, you owe it to yourself to check out this insightful and delightfully crass at times podcast. Thank you, Chesterton.
Someone called me a bright spot for reals.
And a woman.
And we're delightfully crass.
That's a hell of a review.
It's also how you're supposed to treat women on the effing podcast, you mother effers. All of you out there, the kitchen, barefoot in the kitchen, women, people.
To be fair, there was one guy.
Which is one too many.
That one.
No, there was 2. There was the Argentina guy, too.
You're right. There was the Argentinian Nazi. Sorry,
That's
Jessi.
That's actually who I was talking about. But, Mr. Argentina, that is exactly how you're supposed to refer to us classy-ass ladies.
I love that you added ass to after classy. That made it perfect.
I prefer to refer to you all's bomb-ass queens.
Love it.
I'll take that.
So please be sure to leave your reviews. I do appreciate it. And thanks for being from Canada, too. That's cool. Speaking of international stuff, guys, we are number 5. The number 5 top TV review podcast in the Netherlands.
Hey.
They have Dams and they have us. It's great.
Awesome.
Thank you to all 5 listeners. Appreciate you guys.
I would hope there's more than 5.
I'll have a smoke and a pancake for you.
As I say, the Netherlands, don't they have Amsterdam? Isn't that in the Netherlands?
Yes.
Yeah.
So between the hookers and us, they're good to go.
Yeah, we're good.
Next time I'm in Amsterdam, come look me up.
Would that be the hookers or the listeners, Justin?
Oh, no.
Justin will be the one in the window giving the dance.
Yes. That's my answer to that question, Blake. Yes.
Guess we're more enjoyable on hash.
I mean, we probably are.
Couldn't hurt.
Can't make it worse, can it?
On that note, speaking of making it worse, Jessi, do you have a synopsis for us for this episode?
I do. So somebody bet JMS that he couldn't close up every plot, twist, and point of the entire season. And JMS said, hold my beer. So Earth is now free from Clark. Sheridan must now face the new president for his actions. He's forced to resign. Delenn, G'Kar, and Londo offer the Earth president a chance to join the newly formed Interstellar Alliance. Garibaldi searches for Lise. Ivanova revives and tries to deal with what her recovery cost someone. And Jessi quit the podcast. Thanks, guys.
And G'Kar's a voyeur.
Yes, he is.
Yes.
Oh
we knew that, though.
Dirty
we knew that.
ass G'Kar comes back.
Yeah.
We knew it.
Pretty sure that's illegal in space, just like it's illegal here, sir.
I was going to say something clever about Jessi wrestles, or Ivanova wrestles with the cost of medical care.
Jessi wrestles? That's a new
Jessi's
podcast.
not wrestling anybody. Oh, here we go back to the pudding wrestling.
And what's funny is back during, I can't remember which it was, but somewhere along the line, one of your predictions from somebody was G'Kar is going to use his eye to spy on someone.
Yeah.
And we put some jokes about that in Beyond the Rim.
We absolutely referenced that scene. So let's go ahead and talk to our newbies about their first impressions. For those of you who are just joining us for the first time, we'll get our newbies' first impressions, we'll get our first one's first impressions, and then we'll talk about the episode. And there are, as Jessi just pointed out, quite a few plot points. So we're going to be going through all of those. And then at the end of the episode, we'll get our newbies' questions and predictions about what's going to happen next, with only one more episode left in season 4, and then one more season after that. And then we'll jettison out the airlock and answer those questions and predictions in our spoiler-filled Beyond the Rim segment. So let's get first impressions. And Jessi, since you're going to be quitting us, we should probably go to you first.
I would love to give you my last first impression. It's this. Oh, I don't like change. Okay, you know me from episode 1, from the freaking pilot episode on season 1. I have struggled with the change, and we have change coming. We're getting a new commander. We're also going to have to get a new captain. Right? So, or chief, whatever, what do they call him? Captain? What was Sheridan? Sheridan was captain.
Sheridan's captain.
Yeah. So now we need a new captain and we need a new commander. And I'm not really ready for either one to be new. So there's that. Doesn't surprise me that Garibaldi found Lise. Like, he kicked the door in, first of all, with zero regard for her safety. Although he said, stand back, then he proceeded to launch the freaking door. And the first thing out of his mouth was their baby or oh baby or something like that. I was like, yeah, they were planning that from before dude even got murdered. Let's see. The whole resignation thing was surprising to me. I'm sure that everybody else that watches sci-fi regularly wasn't surprised, but it surprised me. Overall, I really, really enjoyed this episode, although we, RIP Marcus. I was wrong with my predictions, which sucks, but I'm sure you guys talk mad shit about me behind the rim. Kind of sad that he died, and was hoping that there would be some kind of magic fucking being that could bring him back to life, but maybe next season I'll have something to look forward to.
Nicole, first impressions.
Well, this episode had everything. We learned a new term for sex. There was a bunch of sex. There was cussing. There was bamboozling. There was all sorts of stuff that was happening on this episode. There was heartbreak. Ivanova's reaction to Marcus when Franklin was comforting her literally gutted me. I was like tears rolling down my face. It was just wow. And then obviously I'm sad that Marcus died. That's devastating. Man, just it was just, that scene was rough, but it was like also just so impactful. And wow, hats off to Claudia for making me cry. That was pretty good. But yeah, going forward, the whole time that they were talking with G'Kar and Londo and Delenn, and they were talking about the proposition, I'm like, what the hell is on that piece of paper? It was driving me nuts that it took me till the end of the freaking episode almost to find out what they were talking about. I was like, is this how Beyond the Rim feels like in a short version? Because they know, but we don't. Like, it was driving me mad. I was like, I want to know what it says, damn it, But I was not expecting that. Like, I really thought Sheridan was going to say, fuck you, I'm not going to do that. But to ensure that his team and his people would be okay, I can see why he did that. And he was smart to get it in writing too, to make sure that like everyone that he worked for him wouldn't get retaliation. Because I don't trust that sneaky bitch acting president. I did not like her one bit. I hated her. I wanted to punch her in her face. I did not like her. If somebody takes her out, I would not be as sad. But it was kind of fun to watch the scene with the League before everyone came in with like Londo and G'Kar and Delenn. Like, I kind of love how they're buddies and they like enjoy each other. And at the end with them sitting around and talking in the eye left with Sheridan and Delenn, I was laughing hysterically, like snort laughing. Just so many things to talk about in this episode. I probably went over my time. Also, I'm all for the Garibaldi and Lise. I like that. I'm happy about that. So I feel like there was a lot of happy endings, not in a perverted way, guys, because I saw your faces. There was a lot of things that were tied up in a happy way, I should say, in this episode.
Like, that's not perverted too.
Okay, I was trying.
You're not helping. Nicole.
I'm not. I'm putting my foot in my mouth. But you know what I'm trying to say. Anyway, I'm gonna stop talking before I make it worse. But I have a lot of thoughts. So I'm
looking forward to figuring out why the Russian president pissed you off so much.
It's I'm on that train too.
She's just condescending bitch. Like,
yeah, she sucks. Russian. Well, yeah, a terrible Russian president's not exactly a new thing. So
yeah, terrible.
It was a terrible accent too. I fucking hate her accent.
Whoa!
That's actually her voice.
Yeah,
that's real. That's not a fake accent. She was born in Poland.
Yeah,
that's not Russia.
Well,
it depends on who you ask.
But yeah, to ask Putin, there might be a very different answer there. But no, that was her accent. That was not a voice or anything she did.
Yeah.
It just seemed like she was trying too hard.
Well, that's called overacting. It's the Bill Shatner school of acting.
God damn. Okay, well, we'll get to her in a minute, but she reminded me of from American Tail. Go with me on this. The suffragette mouse. Her voice is exactly the same as the suffrage person in American Tail. Go back and listen to it and tell me I'm wrong. But it was not her, which really threw me off. I was like, holy shit, there's somebody else with that voice. Okay. Justin, first impression.
I actually thoroughly enjoyed this episode. This has to be, to me, Claudia's best acting in the entire series. In the scene where she is just, I mean, it is heart-wrenching. It is gut-wrenching. It is, you feel every emotion that she's experiencing, and she is just losing her mind. Even when, like, because I had a thread of hope when you saw Marcus trying to push the ship to get the Babylon 5. I even thought maybe there's something that Franklin can do to save Marcus. And then he comes in the scene and then he comes in the room and she immediately just screams, go away. And then finally he sits down with her and you see the sheet over Marcus's body and stuff like that. So you finally know he's indeed gone. But just the way she just breaks down and the way that it felt so authentic to me that it was a rough scene to watch. But honestly, I think that was some of the best job that Claudia has done in the entire series. And as much as it sucks to say that I love that scene, it's for everything that it was. It has to be one of my favorite scenes in the entire series, to be honest with you. I'm glad to see kind of Londo and Jakar kind of quote unquote being friends again. Like this is their dynamic and their relationship in this episode reminds me of like early season 2 stuff when they would actually sit down and have a drink together and actually be civil and talk to each other. And it felt like that they were starting to get along. And kind of what makes me think of this whole thing is the scene where Londo is reading the paper and he just starts giggling hysterically. And he said, I've never thought I'd be in the face of true history before or something like that. And it just makes me, I'm glad we kind of got, part of me is kind of glad that we get kind of a little bit of redemption from Londo, but also part of me is wondering why is he not being forced to answer for his crimes? And we'll kind of probably get into that a little bit later. In this episode, foreshadowing's a bitch. Londo finds out he's going to become emperor. And the unease and the trouble that he has with that was very interesting to watch. I thought the new president was savage. You can tell she's a lifelong politician. And, whether you like what she did or she didn't, she gave Sheridan the options. You can either do A, you can either do B. And Sheridan chose A. And the weird thing that I thought about this entire thing, and the one thing that I didn't expect coming out of this, is Sheridan basically acting like Bran in the final episodes of Game of Thrones, where he's like, oh, this was the plan the whole time. We've been planning this for months and all this stuff. And it was, to me, was kind of a little bit of, I don't know if I want to call it convenience on Sheridan's part, but just where it's like, oh yeah, no, I've got this new job now. Bye everybody. And then Garibaldi is back to Garibaldi. And I really enjoyed that. Him just going straight up John Wick on everybody in Mars, trying to find Lise and finally, rescuing her or whatever the case may be. And I don't know what you would want to say about the Mars Mafia, but so far I'm not impressed at all by them. It's just like one man completely steamrolled the entire Mars mob and got away with it. I can't imagine there won't be some kind of repercussions from that, but we'll see what happens. I was
informed a few moments ago via chat that Nicole has never watched American Tail. Social media fixed this for us. Emily, go ahead.
I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this episode. It feels like an end of this series kind of episode, and I know we have a whole nother season, so I'm really not sure where the show's gonna go from here. Yeah, I can't say I'm a fan of the new Earth president, but I can't fault her for what she did because he went against, Earth, and it might not have been the best way, but I don't know if there was ever going to be a good way because Clark was Clark and there were shadows fucking with shit behind the scenes. And then you have Psychor fucking with shit behind the scenes, His options were pretty limited into what he could do. Yeah, Jakar being a little perv. 100% do not agree with, but it was kind of funny.
Let's be honest, you've done worse.
I have not. Yeah, that's actually not my area of interest, shall we say. Keeping on people in that sort of way. No, it wasn't I can't say I didn't like it. I didn't love it. It's just, I'm really confused on where the series is going to go with a whole other season because this really felt like a wrap up.
Mm-hmm. And we'll move into our first ones to talk about their first impressions. Mike, what do you got?
To be perfectly honest, I'm not entirely sure how I feel about this one either. It's not, from a subject matter perspective, to me, it's not necessarily the most interesting. I think probably the scene in this that I liked the most or that I found the most compelling was Sheridan versus Bester. But besides that, as others have pointed out, the scene with Claudia and Franklin is great. There are a lot of scenes in this that are really phenomenal that hold this episode together. To me, we've talked about previously, I think, that very few episodes in this series have like the full ensemble of actors and characters, and this is one of the few where I think you see practically everybody in this episode in one way or another. I mean, not Marcus so much, but and I think that really carries this one for me, at least. The fact that you get to see everybody, that it touches base on so many different story points, it gives a lot of closure. It does definitely feel like a very final moment, which is interesting. So yeah, I don't know. Like I said, overall, it's not the most compelling episode, but it has a lot of nice bright spots to it for me. So above average.
Would you say it's like a rising star? Ha 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 ha. Kevin. Goddamn, Kevin.
I'm firmly in the camp of liking this episode quite a bit. I think it does wrap up a lot of stuff, and as we've talked about, that was kind of the thought process. They thought they were getting canceled, so this is meant to be a wrap up. Thankfully, it wasn't, but aside from what's already been mentioned, especially the incredible acting of Claudia Christian, and really Richard Biggs too, the very cute scene with Sheridan's father and Delenn and Sheridan was great, and the quick little scene with Lanier and Delenn was touching as well, which I hope we get to talk about that one too. But this episode I thought was very especially well written, well directed. The scene with Bester is amazing. Fantastic episode.
Blake.
So I'm trying to figure out how I want to start this, but it's interesting. We start this episode with a review, and we are praising our female host and directing, oh, this is how we talk. And we get into our first impressions, and it's, hey, fuck that president bitch. I just love the direction we went with that one. So I had to, point that out for.
It doesn't mean I have to like all women just because she sucks. I'm going to say she sucks. She does. She's horrible.
She didn't have.
I don't mean the actress. I'm talking about the character. She sucks.
I'm talking about the character.
To quote Blake, you are entitled to your wrong opinion, sir. Blake, continue.
You guys think you have every answer to everything, but you don't, because there's other viewpoints. So quit calling everybody wrong. But in this case, you're definitely wrong. She sucks. Go ahead, Blake. Sorry.
Well, you, sir, are entitled to be wrong. But
I stand with Kevin.
Thanks, Mike. This is going to be one hell of an episode.
Yeah, it is.
So I do like this episode. I think it's a great wrap up of several storylines that have been built on throughout the season, but it also leaves open, other possibilities within the series too. So it's a nice little wrap up for season 4. One of the scenes I really like though is they're all in EarthGov or in Earth Dome having the press conference talking about the new alliance and inviting Earth to join. It's one hell of an invitation to join an alliance when you basically buzz the roof of Earth Dome with a fleet of goddamn white stars. That's a hell of a proposition to join right there, isn't it?
Especially right after your entire defense system was knocked offline.
You have no defense system. No, by the way, here's the Rangers. So I did love that part, but the acting with Richard Biggs and Claudia Christian in that scene in Med Lab and the whole wrap up with that, I think was phenomenal acting, and really seeing where it went, and also knowing there were some alternate scenes. I know, Kevin, you're going to talk about that a little bit later. With some potential alternate scenes that they filmed for this episode, but I think it turned out really well with the way they did it. It's JMS has commented on the writing, and he's even been asked, would he change certain things with some of the speeches or this or that? And he says he nailed this one pretty close to perfect and pretty much felt like he could walk away from this one with his head held high with this episode. So I really enjoy it. I think it's one of the stronger ones in season 4, actually. So that's what I've got.
Coming into this, I did not think I would be defending President Luchenko from people, but here I am. I don't get it at all. I don't get the hate at all. I think she was great. The fact that she came in there and she explained, as you guys were talking about, the whole idea of what were these people waiting for? What were they doing when Clark was in charge? She laid it all out there. Look, we had to wait for our time, and we had to do this and so forth and so on. And then she could have easily used Sheridan as a way to elevate herself, as Clark would have done, but she gave him the choice. And she was honest about it. The bitch of it is you probably did the right thing, but that's not how this is going to go because politics. I think she's a great character. She's well written, and I don't understand the hate. I'm sure I will be told I'm wrong, but I don't get it at all. Some people have worse taste than me. I don't know. I don't get it. But for the rest of it, I really do appreciate that we get a lot closed up here. Obviously, as we've discussed, this was potentially going to be wrapping up to the end here. We have one more episode, and then does the show end? Does it not end? Obviously, it does not, but they didn't know that in the 90s when they were putting this all together. And when they were filming this episode, they thought this was the second to last episode of the TV show. That being said, JMS was asked flat out, where do we go from here? And he told everybody, he's like, okay, the question was, everything's wrapped up now. What's left for season 5? Because at this point, people knew there was going to be a season 5. And he said things that could show up, leaving in some ambiguity just to keep some surprises. He says, and a lot of this was talked about in this episode. The start of the Telepath War, the start of the Drock War, Londo's fate on Centauri Prime, the first year trying to make an interstellar alliance work, inter-faction fighting among the alliance members, the development of Mars as an independent state, the legacy of William Eggers' Black Project, fallout from the Civil War and the feelings about it, how Lanier, Sheridan, and Delenn are going to get along. And that's just for starters, he said. So I get that this is a wrap-up, and that's obviously what it is, but there's so much more that can be done. So I don't think that this is something that where you have to be really too concerned about where do we go from here, because there's a lot of places they can go. Jessi, you said that you weren't sure if people understood the twist was coming with Sheridan. I didn't see it coming when I watched this the first time out. I thought it was great. I thought it was fun. And Justin, I have thoughts about what you said about it too, but we'll get there when we get there. So Justin, would you like to start us off in our conversation?
Well, I was going to actually piggyback off of something that you had said about me calling her savage doesn't mean I didn't like Luchenko.
Oh.
I actually thought it was actually a well-written
I wasn't directing that at you, boss.
Well, I get that, but you know, she was intriguing to me, and I like strong savage women characters, and she was very pragmatic, and she was very, these are your choices, and this is probably what's going to happen. A lot of these generals want to execute you. And I really think she was trying to avoid that situation. So I think she was giving him the best of the options, being like, okay, take your honors and all that and resign and save face. You know, let's make the best out of this situation, and let's move on from here. So I have no hate for Luchenko at all. I thought it was well written, well acted. I thought the character was very straightforward, and like you said, Scott, a very honest character, which is something that was missing throughout a lot of this series in terms of Earth Dome. So I
she did what she said she was going to do. Because remember, when she has Sheridan leave, she doesn't know what Delenn and Jakar are going to get up and say. So she gives him all the credit. She says he was always one of Earth. He was always here to protect us and save us. And he did an amazing job. So she didn't try to screw him.
And then even when one of the generals tried to come back and almost renege on the promise of amnesty, Sheridan then stepped right up and said, nope, I've got this in writing. It's done deal. It's hidden. You're never going to find it. So it was a well-acted story. It was a well-done story.
Nicole, would you like to fire the first shot, or you want me to?
So I just had a couple things I wanted to say. So first of all, she didn't screw him yet. I'm going to take a play from Emily's book here, and I don't really trust her, honestly. Like, there's just something about her that irks me, and I don't know what it is. And I just also want to clarify something you said, Justin. She didn't give Sheridan a choice. She said, this is the two things you're going to do, but this is what you're going to do. She said, I wrote it down, this is not a conversation. You have no option. So she didn't really give him an option.
She did, though.
But
Preach, Nicole.
Technically, she said these are your options, but she basically said this isn't a conversation. You have no options. So basically, yeah, these are your options, but not really. The reason I personally didn't like her, I thought she came in too hot. She irked me. I can see where you're coming from, Scott. She said, even if what you did was morally right, it was politically inconvenient, you know? So she's a classic politician, and there's some, obviously, I get that. I just personally, personality-wise, it just didn't vibe with me. I just didn't like her. I didn't like, there was just something about her that felt sneaky and untrustworthy, and she irked me. So that's just how I feel about it. I mean, you can disagree all you want because we're allowed to have our own opinions, but for me personally, she didn't give him an option. You can say she did all she wants, but she didn't.
Except for when she actually listed out the options.
No, but she said you have no choice. You don't have an option. It's not a conversation.
I think what she was referring to there was that you have no choice. These are your two options. Either you resign or we will court-martial.
Yeah, but
those
it
are
wasn't,
options.
But it really
come
wasn't,
on.
though. It really wasn't.
There's no option
we
there.
We can disagree on that. That's fine.
Yeah. She gave him no option whatsoever. It was, you're going to do this, or the other side of it is so bad that I know you're going to do the first one. So you have an option, but not really. And she came in there very condescending, very shitty. And she even said, like, you know what the bitch of it was? You did the right thing, but I'm not going to fight for you. I'm not going to try to tell everybody, yeah, he did the right thing. He had no other choice. That's the way that it had to be. No, she doesn't lead. She's just being forced by generals. And I'm assuming she's a commander-in-chief, so she can tell them to shut the fuck up, but she won't because she's a weak character. And she decides, okay, well, I'm just going to take the easy way out and tell him, okay, you're going to get out so that you're not a problem anymore. And I love that she got her just desserts in the end because she thought she was rid of him as a problem. And now she's got an even bigger problem with him because he's running something bigger than he was before. So I like how it was written. I don't like her.
Emily.
Part of my problem is it's not even about her specifically. It's about whoever would be in that position. Because to get into that position that quickly, you got to do a lot of scheming. There's a lot of scheming and underhandedness to be able to set all that in place so that when Clark is gone, you can do a quick shift. So it's not even about her. It's not even about her conversation with Sheridan, because I'm not sure there were any other real options. We might like to think there were. I don't know that there really were. But it's more about knowing that someone has been plotting so much, like behind the scenes, that in a way you're glad they did it so it doesn't create that power vacuum. But then you're like, can we trust them going forward in the future if we know they are capable of doing all this without being caught, which is a little suspect. Like, and it wasn't even, I mean, I'd feel the same no matter who was in that position because of what they have to do to get there.
Jessi.
I just saw it as, I hear you guys call it options, and that's fine because that's, it's your right to have your opinion. But the first one was the option. The first one was the choice, the only choice. The second one was the punishment. You'll do this or we'll punish you. So, I mean, I get it. I hear you because she used the word choices. My issue with her was simply her accent. And I like how you guys are like, well, that's not fake. It's from Poland. That's like me saying, oh, I didn't like her Canadian accent. And somebody said, oh, she's from America. Not the same. Even in America, going from Missouri to Arkansas and Arkansas to Louisiana, there's different accents. So it's just like Polish is not Russian. That was not a Russian accent. And for her to be Russian, it was not a Russian accent. So that's my only issue with her. She was fine. I think she did what she was supposed to. She pissed me off when she gave him his choices. So I literally said in that, when she was like, don't get this wrong, this is not a conversation. And I was like, yeah, don't fucking threaten me. I literally said that out loud. I was like, don't fucking threaten me. So she did exactly what she was written to do. So the character's strong. I just didn't like the sounds coming out of her mouth.
I just didn't like the sounds coming out of her mouth. Jesus.
Well, we learned last week she doesn't want you to talk in certain situations. Yep. So
she's definitely doesn't get to talk. Shush, ma'am.
Shush, ma'am. Justin. Jesus.
I don't know how I'm going to follow this up, honestly. Was she the vice president, or was she who was she chosen?
She was chosen by the consortium. So she was the person who was quote unquote in charge of Russia. And Jessi would have issues with that, but we'll leave it at be. And so she was the one picked by, I guess, whatever that is in charge now, because the Senate was taken out. So who knows?
Yeah, and that's the one thing I didn't actually pick up from watching this episode. And maybe I'll have to go back and watch it again. Because, I mean, naturally in your succession of power, Clark ends up taking himself out. And I thought it was very interesting. They hated that they hanged a traitor sign on his neck as they're taking kind of photographs of the body and everything like that. But kind of where was her position and how did she end up sliding into power, and who put her into power? Like, if she was his, the first thought I had watching this all progress was, if she was his vice president, then how much culpability did she have in terms of the actions of the Clark regime and stuff like that? But if everybody got together, it's like, well, there's really no vice president. I guess, Luchenko, you're the most powerful person, next man up or next woman up, and go ahead and see what you can do to fix this mess. That was the one kind of question that was really unanswered to me in this episode.
Pretty sure she was not the vice president. They didn't say that, but the way that they said the new president is from Russia, blah, 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 blah. It seems like she was selected.
Do you think she could have been a cabinet member, perhaps?
Potentially, or a high-ranking senator who didn't get offed.
Right.
Something like that. Nicole.
Well, the only good thing I will say is about time we had a fucking woman president.
That everyone hates.
Yeah, but we still have a woman.
Well, that seems realistic, though.
Because I was just looking at some of the expanded canon and, take the books for what they are. But what they establish in some of those is that Luchenko was a senator, and that after Clark got taken out, the Senate convened an emergency session, and she was basically nominated by the Senate to become acting president until they could hold elections.
That's the only thing that makes sense to me. Yeah, I would agree.
Yes, that's from the expanded canon.
That explains it.
We can end this debate as soon as everyone wants to, but the one thing I want to throw out there is I really don't think she's weak at all. I think actually she's showing that she's extremely strong in this, because a weak president would have said, okay, Sheridan saved the day. I need to make sure that Sheridan is in front of people all the time, because he's the guy who did this, and I need his coattails in order to keep me in power. So she would have made him chairman of the Joint Chiefs or whatever, or leader of the Earth Force military or whatever. But no, she said, I want you out of the way because you could be a troublemaker for me, and I don't want that. So I don't see that she's weak at all. I think it was an extremely powerful move, and a ballsy move too, because she's just showing him the door.
Let me say one thing. I regret saying she was a weak character. I misstated that. But she sucks. And for all the reasons I said, she didn't back him up. She knows he did the right thing, had no other choices, and won't even give him a modicum of respect other than to say, okay, you're not going to get in trouble for anything you did, but I want you out. You're a problem, and I don't want you around anymore. And again, I love the fact that she still got screwed in the end.
So yeah, that's the fun part about it, is that she does get screwed at the end. But I'll never get it, because she did help him. She gave him the praise.
Sort of.
She did. She gave him the praise. She protected his crew and everyone else who was on that side, and she gave him, again, every little thing he asked for on the way out the door. So she did. She propped him up. She said, "This is the guy. We would not be here today if it wasn't for him. And now he's going to go ahead and go retire to a green pasture, but he's the guy." So I don't understand how she didn't give him quite a bit.
She only did that because he played ball in exactly the way she wanted him to, by getting out of the way. And, don't forget, the winning side isn't the one that faces consequences. It's the losing side in this kind of situation. So his side should have never been in jeopardy. It should be all the people that did the war crimes on the other side.
Well, and we can assume, as Justin pointed out, they stuck a traitor necklace on Clark. So we're just seeing one thing happen. I guarantee you some folks are going to be swinging in trees. That's going to happen. Probably. We're just talking about this one thing.
If anything, Operation Paperclip shows us that the losers don't always suffer.
Bingo.
True.
Okay, well...
I think we beat that one to death.
Now we've got into a 30-minute debate about Luchenko. Okay. Can we talk about something else? Anybody?
This debate had more screen time than she did. Jesus.
Exactly. So let's talk about the twist. Let's talk about the discussions that led up to the creation of what we now know as an interstellar alliance, and how we got to a point where Sheridan is now the president of said alliance. And from what we can tell, all the League of Non-Aligned Worlds and the Narn and the Centauri, the two other big dogs in town, have signed on. Nicole.
Well, I didn't see that coming. At the end, the twist there where he was going to be the president of that. I thought, what the hell is Sheridan going to do now if he resigns? And there he goes. He had a job lined up. So that was kind of cool. I really enjoyed the Ranger flyover. I was like, oh, snap. They're just letting them know, like kind of flexing that they're here and they're, capable. Like I said earlier, I kind of hated the buildup, not knowing exactly what was gonna happen or whatever with that piece of paper they were all talking about that Londo said, this is crazy, you know? I was like, well, what is it? So the wait was worth, the payoff was worth the wait. I'm interested to see what that is gonna do or what's gonna happen with that. Obviously they're kind of like peacemakers essentially, right, is kind of what their role is going to be in like keeping the peace. So it'll be interesting to see how long that actually is effective for, and like I'm sure the season 5 will delve into that and kind of like their role in, you know, interstellar peace and stuff. But cool concept. I really enjoyed it. Again, new to sci-fi. Maybe this is a trope, maybe it isn't, but I enjoyed it, and I really didn't expect that twist at the end, but I liked it.
Others can argue, but I wouldn't say this is a trope. I thought this was a storyline that isn't done much. I mean, the only thing I can think of is nearly 10 years later, Enterprise kind of did the form of the Federation. I don't know. Justin, what do you got?
I wasn't 100% shocked with the formation of the Interstellar Alliance. I thought it was cool how they did it. And then after watching the rest of the episode and seeing kind of Sheridan's reaction about how, well, this has been in plan for months, and this is something that, you know, has been talked about, we've been working on behind the scenes. It kind of makes sense going back to some of the previous episodes where they actually start working together and they actually start kind of cooperating and stuff like that. You know, thinking back, you can kind of see the steps of where this is all starting to form together. It wasn't 100% of a shock, but I liked what they did. And honestly, though, I really can't blame him for having kind of this ace in the hole. He wasn't 100% sure how shit was going to go down on Earth when he turned himself in. And I thought that was actually, that was one thing I was not expecting, is for Sheridan to turn himself in to the authorities and go through all their questioning and everything like that. So kind of the way then at the end where it all played out is be like, you know what? Yeah, this is something I've been planning for a long time, and now, sorry, Luchenko, you have to answer to me. As long as we're kind of talking about choices, did the Interstellar Alliance really give Earth a choice in the whole matter? You know, they threw a carrot at Earth and said, hey, you know what? We're going to give you our gravity technology. Oh, and by the way, you saw that huge flyover? This is just a minor display of our total power. So you can join us or you cannot. The choice is yours. So did the Interstellar Alliance really give Earth a choice in working with them and joining the Alliance?
Justin, I just want to clarify one thing. Well, you said that Luchenko's answering to Sheridan now. I always have seen this alliance kind of like NATO. They kind of explained it with the Rangers. Remember, Delenn said the Rangers aren't going to get involved in your squabbles internally. But if they find out that you're going to screw over your neighbor, they're going to go tell your neighbor. They're not going to stop you from screwing your neighbor.
Okay, yeah,
they're going to go tell you. So I in the power structure, obviously Sheridan is extremely powerful in this entity, but I don't see it as the because I don't think Londo would ever sign up to answer to Sheridan. I think it's more of a NATO type pact.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
One thing just to jump in, because Justin, you made a point I was going to, talking about the way things build and go, and JMS was a writer on Murder, She Wrote, and when he was talking with some people in the Usenets about the writing, especially with this particular episode, one of the things he mentioned is that on Murder, She Wrote, he learned that when you get to the reveal at the end and you reveal who the murderer is, done in such a way to respect the audience that if the audience goes back and watches the episode again, they can see the breadcrumbs and the hints along the way that led to the outcome that maybe they missed the first time. And going back throughout the entire series, there's been this element of bringing the League together, getting them to cooperate, getting them to realize they had commonality, all the way through to this final act of getting them to all stand together behind Sheridan and then converting that into this Interstellar Alliance. So I think if you go back through all the seasons of the show, I mean, all the way back to 1, you can see the breadcrumbs of this outcome getting built over the last 4 seasons.
One of the things I love about that is if you go back to one of our former episodes is the one where Sheridan sneakily got the Alliance, or not the Alliance at the time, the non-aligned worlds to back his play to protect each other. There was a debate on this team if that was good or not. So, but that was absolutely one of those breadcrumbs. So that's kind of fun. Kevin, what do you got?
So I have a question. I don't have a strong viewpoint on this like I do most other things. My question is, would Luchenko have been interested in joining the Alliance at that point? Is the writing weak here that it was done in such a way that she'd be like, you know what, none of this makes sense to me, or I'm not just going to jump in. I'll wait to see how this plays out for a while, or I don't trust you, Sheridan. So, would she have joined in that moment? Because I'm not convinced that she would have.
I don't think she had a choice, really. I think as far as joining the alliance, that especially with what they were offering in terms of technology upgrades, and particularly at this point where Earth does not have a defense net right now, not have a defense system, I think Earth was in a position where they almost had to say yes. I mean, I look at it right now, you look at some of the countries joining NATO right now, is they're sitting there going, oh shit, we're kind of in the middle of everything and have no defenses right now. So you've got these nations jumping into NATO. I think Earth was kind of at the same spot of, you've got this, what is undeniably an interstellar force. You've got the League of Non-Aligned Worlds working together for the first time. You've got all of the major races aligned with them. Earth did not want to be the last person of the party on this.
Well, let's talk about breadcrumbs again. We were told before season 1, the Battle of the Line happened and Earth nearly got wiped out. But then, as Earth started rebuilding, they were becoming a galactic power. They were going to rival the Centauri and the Narn and all of that. And then, through this civil war and Clark's idiocy, they're back 10 steps. So I don't think it's bad writing. I think she, as a strong leader, has to make the call that isn't the best call in terms of legacy, in terms of whatever, but it's the call she needs to make, because if anything shows up that's going to try to push Earth in at this point, she's defenseless. In many ways, most of the Omega-class ships are probably going to be being refurbished or fixed or picked up off planets somewhere for a while. As Blake said, the Earth, the defense systems, which were put in after the Battle of the Line, are gone. And not to mention internally, Earth is going to be dealing with the fallout of what happened for a long time. I think it's a smart move, and it's the only move she's got.
I almost wonder if the Alliance needed Earth as much as Earth needs the Alliance, because even like Jakar said, humans are the key. They need the humans to be on board with the Alliance in order for the Alliance to work. So it was almost like, you know what, we're going to give you a little piece of technology to help your ships be more faster and efficient. And at the same time, then you're going to join our little, let's call it a Eurozone or whatever you want to call it, of align, our new alliance that we're building. So I think it was very much a tit for tat situation.
Nicole, you ask if stuff is a trope or not. This is absolutely a sci-fi trope. In a lot of shows, Star Trek being one, here on Babylon 5, the humans are the ones who build bridges. We always bring people together. We form the Federation. We form the Alliance. It's definitely a trope.
Oh, yeah. I guess that's my biggest problem with Luchenko, is she knows that she is not coming from a position of strength because she's, interim acting, whatever, and they need to kind of rebuild the Earth government. And, their military, I'm sure, has been severely weakened. They have no defense net anymore. And she knows that Sheridan saved the planet twice by getting rid of Clark and by getting rid of the defense net that was going to destroy at least 40% of Earth. I guess that's my biggest problem with her, is that she could have backed him more and didn't. And if you follow the Kirk model, since you brought up Star Trek, he should have gotten a demotion at most, because he broke orders, but he saved the planet twice. So he probably should have just gotten at most a demotion.
Okay, I will say that scene in Star Trek 4 is amazing. However, it is dumbass beyond belief.
I'm saying that partially tongue in cheek.
This guy shut down the Excelsior, broke all the rules. Let's give him his ship back. Okay, perfect sense. Nicole, this is something from Star Trek.
That's okay. I just check out, so it's fine. I was just going to say something that Justin said made me kind of think, I wonder if Sheridan kind of turned himself in, knowing all along that he was, if they didn't make him resign, that he was going to resign because he had this lined up. Also, before I forget to say it, and ladies, I don't know if you want to back me up, but when Sheridan was in the press conference giving his speech and talking about like how he's resigning, he looked so hot with that scruff. I mean, it was working for him. I was like, hello, daddy. How are you? You've been replaced, Kevin.
he looked good, but he was still talking. So
I mean, that's okay. He's got to actually. So because I work in radio, I recognize voices. He's got a good speaking voice. It's very deep and very almost like soothing. So I don't mind his voice. I just don't want him to say dumb shit. You know what I mean?
that's the problem is yes, I agree with you. But again, here's a situation where I don't like the noises coming out of his mouth. So it's not going to work for me. Justin, why don't you go ahead and follow that one up again?
Oh, no, this comment is very much directed at you, Jessi.
Oh, no.
Second person, she doesn't like the noises coming out of their mouths.
It's actually the first. She's the second. Go ahead.
That's true.
I, for one, would love to nominate Jessi to interview Bruce Boxleitner.
No.
I think that would be a very fun interview to watch.
I think I'm not available that day.
I'd do it.
I think, hey, Bruce, call us.
Yeah,
please.
Call us, Bruce. Jessi wants to talk to you and hear more stuff come out of your mouth.
Okay, anything else on the formation of the Alliance? I know what Jessi wants to talk about. We'll get there in a minute. But is there anything else on any of that? Mike?
I don't know. It was fast. It was all really fast, and it felt like they pushed Earth into joining the same way a timeshare salesman tricks you into signing up. I get all of the points that have been made. It still doesn't make it feel right. Like, it still felt like they were kind of pushed into it over the barrel of a fleet of White Stars.
Oh, they were strong arming into it. I'm not denying you on that, Mike.
And maybe that's how it had to happen. I mean, I'm not finding necessarily any fault in the writing of it. It doesn't feel good.
They're like, don't worry, we won't hold it against you. We'll just leave with the 150 White Stars that just flew over.
I mean, I keep going back to NATO, and I know it's not the perfect comparison, but hey, all of you got your asses kicked in World War II. None of you have a military anymore. Russia's over there. Here's all our battleships and aircraft carriers. Would you like to join us in an alliance?
Well,
it's the same idea.
Yeah, and I mean, along the same lines, on the greater point, not to go back and rehash the whole thing with Luchenko again, but it's like a lot of that felt like a bit of a contrivance to me too, and I would have, I guess, personally liked to see it play out slightly different. I didn't really like that Sheridan already knew what was happening with the Alliance going into it. I think it would have been a lot cooler if Delenn had showed up and told Earth, hey, we just made this cool alliance, and then Luchenko's like, oh yeah, who's in charge? And Delenn's like, oh, well, he's sitting in one of your jail cells, and you're going to need to let him out, right now.
Uh-huh.
I see where, I mean, that would be kind of a fun little plot point, but I don't think that's Sheridan. I think Sheridan, I mean, as much as I've dogged on Sheridan for being the guy who doesn't catch shit right away, I mean, he's the one who set up this chessboard, so he's got to be the one who does checkmate.
I suppose he's also the guy that stared at the same screen with a super obvious pattern for a full week.
I was the one who bitched about that the most. I do not disagree.
I'm just saying, it just overall the whole thing just felt really, really fast and convenient.
I do not disagree with that at all. Sheridan is not exactly the most, intelligent person as written. I agree. Justin?
As kind of watching the episode, I was kind of expecting him when they were announcing this alliance and that he was going to end up becoming the president, stuff like that. I expected a lot more of the reluctant leader to come out and be like, well, I wasn't expecting this, but for the good of the galaxy, I'll do it type thing, instead of being like, oh yeah, no, this is what I had planned all along. Peace, bitches. So
yeah, and I mean, and don't get me wrong, the fact that he got that little swagger when the general came in all hot and bothered about it, and then he made the general open the door for him, I thought was pretty great.
That was a boss scene. Yeah. That was a boss part. I like that.
And I'm glad they didn't write that as Luchenko coming in, because it was much funnier the way they did it.
Again, that's one of those where Luchenko wouldn't send herself in there. She would send a peon, who, by the way, obviously has little dick syndrome, the way he comes in all the time throwing around, I'm a general. Hey, what's up? Okay, let's move in to where Jessi quit. Let's talk about Ivanova. Jessi?
So, yeah, I hate it all. Again, I'm going to just reiterate what everybody else has already said about the scene. The scene was absolutely amazing. She still looked like shit. So the makeup people are still very on point. A lot of the times you'll see somebody bounce back to life and all of a sudden they're beautiful and everything. She still looked like she had almost died. Her acting was on point. She's gorgeous in every manner in this scene, but I I did not like the comment about love not being a reciprocated, what was the word she used?
Requited.
Okay, so I had to look that word up because I didn't even fucking know what it meant. And the first 2 times it was said, I was like, I should probably know what that means. And then the third time, when Lanier and Delenn were talking about it, and Delenn's like, well, she's wrong. I'm like, yeah, now I need to know what that is. And, I do not agree with that statement in any way, shape, or form. I don't believe that all love is unreciprocated. I just I hate that Marcus is dead, and I hate that she's leaving, and I need to know, did she leave because she had something else going on? Why is she leaving the show? Why did I not catch when Kevin told us she was leaving the show? My feelings are hurt. I don't like it. I like, and I know how we all joke about how much I hated her face when she first started. But I mean, she is a dope ass character. She's a great actress, and the character is well written, and I'm not ready for change.
Ever. Let's finish that sentence. I'm not ready for change ever.
I don't ever want anything to change unless she gets promoted to chief to what the fuck is it called again?
And just remember, she's only doing a 1-year shakedown. I didn't say when season 5 starts.
That's fine. There's only 1 season left though. So if she doesn't come back, listen, I can't handle this emotional roller coaster. Either she's coming back or she's not. I need to fucking know. I'm done with this.
We'll discuss that.
Beyond the Rim. I thought that this emotional damage that you guys you're causing to me, because now I think she's dead. Now she's not dead. Now I think she might be okay. And now she's leaving again. I can't do it. I can't do it.
You only have 23 episodes to go.
Ugh.
Plus a couple movies.
Great. And some books I heard.
Well, yeah, that's some of those books aren't good.
Kevin, you want to bring up the part, because you were going to talk about the alternate scene here, and then I can mention just how cringy the books really are. But
sure,
Blake, I want details. Okay, go into details on how bad.
I plan on it, but I'm going to let Kevin set the stage here.
Okay, so they filmed this 2 ways. So the way that aired, and they filmed it as Franklin got there in the nick of time and put Marcus in cryogenic stasis so he didn't actually die. They filmed that both ways. And JMS thought about it a lot, and he really did not want to kill off the Marcus character. But by the way he wrote this, he said it's too much of a cop-out for one of them not to die. So he decided, okay, I can't cheat the audience this much. I already pulled a switcheroo, so this is the way that it aired.
And to get into the cringiness of the book, so the books picked up that storyline. That actually happened in the novels. So they take the, Marcus Popsicle back to Mimbar and hang on to him there. And eventually the Interstellar Alliance picks up they're out exploring, and they find the ruins of the civilization that created this alien healing device and learned how they could bring Marcus back. So they bring Marcus back, which, oh, by the way, somehow because he invested his money, he's fucking loaded now and rich. So he buys a ship, goes and finds a rogue geneticist using a hair on his uniform from Ivanova, has her cloned, and then implants her memories into the clone, goes back into stasis for 32 years so the clone can age, goes and picks her up, crashes them on a planet, and then basically says, they've crashed here, the transponder's broken, we can't leave, we can't contact anybody, we're stuck here.
So what I hear is Marcus grows a sex doll.
Yeah.
Yes.
Marcus grows a sex doll is the books.
Blake said it perfectly. I just want everyone to think about this again. Okay, he takes her memories, and he only has them implanted up until the point where the battle happens. He skips everything else, because the memories are go much longer into her life. No, we don't care about where she may have gotten better and learned more about life or whatever. No, we're just going to cut it right at the battle. And then we're going to let her grow up. And then we're going to stick her on a planet where she will never be found. And the only human being there is Marcus. And Marcus is going to say that, I'm here for you.
There will be boffing.
Oh, God.
Where's your agency now?
Exactly. And the final bit of the story is, Ivanova decides we should probably make a shelter. Seriously, that's how it ends.
That is it.
Yikes. Okay.
The reason we're not reviewing the book.
It was written by JMS's, at that point, wife.
Yikes.
Glad I didn't say what I was about to just say.
Oh, no, please, Mike, go ahead.
Nope, never mind.
Nope, moving on.
Just blame it on Scott. So
It wasn't a full novel. It was like a short story for a magazine, but oh, fuck.
Like Playboy or what?
Is that why they got divorced?
No, when you read the autobiography, you'll find that actually the divorce is, it's pretty, I mean, it's, I think it's the most heartwarming part of the
Really?
book, believe it or not.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, 100%. No, I mean 100% serious, because the JMS realizes, this is not a spoiler, but JMS realizes that he was not built for relationships, but she's still his best friend.
To be fair, there are not very many heartwarming parts in that book, I'll just say.
It's true.
My divorce was heartwarming for me, but carry on.
For different reasons.
For different reasons.
Agreed. Two things. One, so we don't know if Ivanova's leaving just yet because they said she was going away for a year to clear her head or whatever. And if I'm not mistaken, didn't she get promoted to commander, not assistant or whatever, lieutenant commander?
Captain. She's a full captain.
Yeah, she
now.
is.
She's a full captain. That was one of Sheridan's last things before he
promoted her.
And she's taking over one of those new badass battle cruisers.
Yeah, that doesn't necessarily mean she's gone yet. So I'm hoping, and you guys can talk shit afterwards, I'm hoping that she'll be back at the beginning of season 5. But I'm not going to hold my breath because that doesn't sound like good luck. It was so gut-wrenching to just see her sitting by the glass looking at Marcus's body and just sobbing, talking to Franklin. I felt that in my heart. Like I had tears rolling down my face. It was a lot. I don't think it could have been done any other way because it was so impactful and it was so good on her part. Like, and it was just so powerful that that scene done any other way would not have fit, I don't think. You know, she even said, she's like, I knew that Marcus wouldn't hurt me, Marcus wouldn't leave me, and that he loved me, but I didn't even give him an ounce of kindness. Like she felt a lot of guilt and a lot of, you know, she's like, I should have buffed him. But I feel like she's going to have that inner struggle because, you know, she didn't even really start kind of being nice to him until the end. And then he basically gave her life for her. So I feel like she's going to have, if she does stay on the show, she's going to have that survivor's guilt a little bit. Him giving his life for her was just beautiful. Like the whole thing. I mean, obviously we talked about last week about how there's many reasons why he did it, but the way that it kind of played out and like how she said that she was basically getting ready to die and she heard I love you and she thought it was God. And she's like, he'd laugh at that I thought God had a British accent or whatever, you know, but she heard him say that and then she was pulled back. So I, of course, you know me being the sucker for love, I heard that and I was like, oh, yay, she really does know he loves her. He finally got to tell her and she heard it, you know, the quote that she said about all love is unrequited, you know, kind of fast forward to Lanier and Delenn when he said that was her last comment or whatever. And then she touched his face and said, it's not true or whatever. That also made my heart jump. I was like, oh my God, she, you know, like she was just letting him know, I love you, but I might not be in love with you. Like, you know what I mean? That's what I felt.
Oh, my sweet summer child, Nicole.
I love love, okay? But I thought that was really sweet too. I don't know. That scene kind of parlayed into that, and I just thought it was kind of an interesting juxtaposition because it was kind of a similar situation. Like, Delenn knows Lanier loves her, but she loves somebody else. No, really? She can't tell?
Does not.
I don't know. I think
I disagree with you, Scott.
I disagree with Scott too, but that shouldn't be a surprise.
She is completely naive to it, and that the way she played that scene shows that she's naive to it.
Okay. Well, I thought in my mind that she knows, and she was kind of telling him, "I love you too," but like just not the way you want me to love you. That's how I reacted.
I read it the same.
So anyway, back to Ivanova and Marcus. I wish he was still here, but what a fucking way to go out, man.
Oh, don't worry, he'll be back with his sex toy.
With his sex doll.
Justin, you still got your hand up. What do you got?
Yeah, I've been waiting to say what I was going to say before this whole conversation got thrown into a volcano like a virgin in Hawaii. So, two things. One, I think Ivanova leaving to take command of a battle cruiser makes 100% sense. And the reason why is, imagine, just from Ivanova's perspective, having to hang around Babylon 5, and everything she sees around that station is going to remind her of Marcus. And I think she has to leave Babylon 5 in order to try and heal. Because you see how Marcus's death was so devastating for her that the only way for you to move on and heal and carry on with your life is to remove yourself from that situation. And I don't think she would be able to do that if she remained on B5. So as much as I would hate to see Claudia leave the show as a main character, maybe, one, it makes perfect sense in terms of, healing and dealing with your personal grief. But also, in terms of the whole view of the unreciprocated love, that comment is, I think, because she went even through her whole history based upon her own, personal dealings with past loves. She even said, everyone who I've ever loved has hurt me or left me. So she has a very jaded view anyway of the concept of love. And I think that she even said that's what made her afraid. We find out she did have feelings for Marcus. But she was so afraid of expressing those feelings because of her past history. And so to her, it made more sense for her to build those walls. It's almost like the person on the playground who teases you a lot ends up secretly liking you. To me, it almost kind of feels like a very childish view of what was going on in Ivanova's mind. But at the same time, like she didn't know how to express herself because she's never had someone in her life like Marcus, someone who gave with no expectation of anything in return, someone who just wanted to be with her and stuff like that without wanting something out of it or without end up damaging her in one way or another. So it's the fact that she has that view, to me, isn't necessarily flaw. It's more of a defense mechanism.
Kevin.
It shouldn't surprise anybody to know that Claudia loves this scene, not because it's fun to watch, but because it's some of her favorite acting from the first 4 seasons. She said that she had wished up until this point to get some more scenes like this, but she said that the thing that she brought to the scene the most was just the enormous guilt about multiple aspects of her relationship with Marcus, and of course of his ultimate act. But yeah, if this isn't her best acting in the series, I'll eat my hat.
Agree.
Kevin, blink twice if she comes back.
Yeah, I'll agree with that too. I mean, I think the acting is amazing here. And again, I mean, I don't want to shortchange Claudia, but she's still a relatively new actor in this case. I mean, this is her first full series regular run. And also to Jessi's point, she's also a model. And that's how she got started, is she was a model. So the fact that she allowed them to just like show her like she just, came off her deathbed and she can act that way and do all that, I think it was a lot. I must just be, I'm the exact opposite of Nicole. Nicole sees love everywhere. And I'm just jaded. I've been married for a while. I'm just jaded. But Justin, I don't think that Ivanova truly had that kind of love feelings. The way I read it was she appreciated Marcus. She understood where he was coming from because clearly she knew where she had feelings for him. But the way she said it, I should have just boffed him at least once. It wasn't a fact that she loved him or that she wanted to be with him and that she just couldn't. It was unrequited love. It was Marcus wanted more than she was willing to give because she didn't want the same thing out of Marcus. For one, she loved Talia. We know that because she flat out said it. I will 100% believe until the day I die, Delenn is extremely naive when it comes to emotions, and she does not get what Lanier is shoveling here. She does care for Lanier as her pupil, as her colleague, as the person that she hopes will take over for her after she's done. She does, and she loves Sheridan. So when she, she touches his cheek, but I see it more as patting him on the head. Love's not all unrequited. It's not. And Lanier is just looking at her like, you have no idea what I'm even talking about. And Delenn has no idea what he's even talking about. Delenn doesn't know because Delenn is oblivious to it. Justin.
So to your point, Scott, in terms of me saying that she had feelings for Marcus, I wasn't meaning to insinuate that she's in love with him or she did end up reciprocating his feelings, but you can tell she felt something for him. Whether it was love, whether it was romantic love, or whether it was just a connection, She felt something for him. Otherwise, she wouldn't be maybe reacting the way that she was. Maybe it was truly just guilt, but there were feelings there. And the fact that she could never come up with a way to express those feelings to Marcus, I think is part of what was driving a lot of that scene. To your second point, I 100% disagree with you in that. I think Delenn was acknowledging she knows the way Lanier feels about her. And I think she says, no, not all love is unrequited. I think that was her saying, I do love you, but not in the way that you want me to love you. I think it was more of, I do love you. She views him probably more as like family than anything else, any more than telling your sister or your brother, I love you. And I think that was what she was communicating to Lanier. And I think Lanier's reaction as she was leaving, and even when you saw Delenn in the background turn back and look at him, is I think that was Lanier finally accepting that. Like, she's never going to love me the way I want, but she does love me. And I think that's kind of what that whole scene was about. That's the way I took it.
I couldn't agree more. I think they're written in kind of a similar way, in that it was pretty clear Ivanova was now imagining what might have been if she had been open to love. But I think the situation with Talia really closed her off to the possibility of being in love and putting herself out there and taking a chance. And now she's regretting that, because she's like, maybe if I had just tried one more time, I could have made that work. He was a nice guy. And it's not the same thing at all, but in a similar way, in different circumstances, you could see a scenario in which Delenn and Lanier would have possibly been happy, but unfortunately for their relationship, she's in love with somebody else and does not romantically love him, but she's trying to tell him, I may not love you in a romantic sense, but I do love you. And she's trying to comfort him. And that scene is really clear. And I agree with you, Justin, wholeheartedly, and Nicole too.
Emily.
Okay, so usually I'm the one that has trust issues and I don't get super emotional, and I am definitely not all into the romance like Nicole over there. But I read the situation the same, because Delenn is not that dense. And we have seen her with like Mayan, the poet, and that kind of closeness and intimacy. And we've seen it in like how she's interacted with others, that she obviously cares very, very deeply. I think she's very aware Lanier has feelings for, but considering their like working relationship, you kind of have to not acknowledge certain things. So I felt like that was her way of letting him know she's not completely dense. I don't know why you think she's that dense. She's smarter than that. So I'm a little offended.
No, you can have a huge intelligence and be emotionally stupid.
Yeah, but I don't
those
think
are not
is.
mutually
exclusive. Well,
exclusive.
that's true. We have a poster child on the show, but I will say
projection is everything, Kevin.
Okay, we're gonna talk about the Garibaldi sex scene.
Oh, please.
Please, God.
That's what I had on the docket next.
That's why I brought it up. Nicole needs to talk about Garibaldi having sex.
Well, more so just the whole scene of him basically single-handedly, I think Justin said earlier, saving her from the mafia. Like, that was insane.
John Wick.
Yeah, he did. He'd went full John Wick. But I really just enjoyed the whole, like, it was like the old Garibaldi was back, and I really enjoyed seeing the Garibaldi we all know and love just kick down doors, take people out, kick ass and take names kind of thing. That guy's been through hell, so good for him for getting his broad back. Like, good for you, Garibaldi.
Again, we started this entire conversation with so happy that we have female voices on a podcast for once. He got the broad back.
Listen, I can say broad. You can't. There's a difference, I just also forgot her name at the moment, so that's why.
Cool. She's got broad friends.
Yeah. But no, wow. Okay, Mike. That was fucked up. That guy was miserable for most of the show, and like nothing good happened for him. So I'm just happy to see him back to his normal self and getting a little happiness. And obviously everyone likes to get laid, so good for him.
Kevin?
There is a hilarious blooper of Garibaldi doing this stunt work in this scene because they couldn't get the doors right. It was
I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about the stunt work in the sex scene.
No. In the rescue scene, I'm sorry.
Gotcha.
You never know. There could have been difficulty opening many things on that set.
Okay.
What I heard was Garibaldi had trouble getting Lisa's doors open.
Oh God.
I want to know what Liz said to him when she whispered.
Oh
Took
yeah,
all my
I want to
ways.
know what she said.
She said did you have captions on?
No. Oh, you can actually see the captions?
Wasn't it something along the lines of, let me tell you something, Justin? Yeah. She literally said something along the lines of, let me tell you something.
Yeah, and then I think she said something after that, but there were no subtitles.
But it was inaudible. Yeah.
Right.
So there was something, it seemed rather provocative or arousing based on his response.
Tell you something. So Fire Marshal Bill from In Living Color.
Let me tell you something. Oh, God damn it.
Speaking of Fire Marshal Bill, no, but was anyone else looking at the blankets like, those are too close to the candle, one wrong move, and the blankets flame?
Kevin, I'm sure you had a point here.
I did, but I didn't approach it very well, so I'm hearing about it now. So in the rescue scene, there's a hilarious blooper because Jerry Doyle is doing the stunt work, and they had the doors held by like one half a screw or something. It was pretty ridiculous, and so the doors like swinging open and then closing and looking really bad. So they had some poor stunt guys behind the doors, and I guess one of them got knocked clear across the cell that he was supposed to be knocking in.
Well, I mean, Kevin, you are very true. Is one screw separating Garibaldi from Lise, but
Emily.
I don't know why my hand's up. It was the candle comment, because seriously, I was so distracted by that.
Oh, Christ. Okay.
And the edge of the blankets and the flame, and then like that's just gonna ruin the mood. Why do people need so many freaking candles so close to a bed? If things get a little wild and things start like, it's a fire hazard. Don't do it.
You've learned so much from this podcast today. And I think the more you know moment is either Polish people can't sound Russian or don't have candles near the bed when you have sex. You decide which one.
Stop it. I'm not saying Polish people can't. I'm saying that Polish person didn't.
Nicole.
You fuckers gaslight the shit out of people. Let me tell you something. She was not a Russian actor. So fuck off, all of you. And by all of you, I mean Scott.
Nicole.
I just wanted to also notate before I forgot that I really enjoyed the episode starting with the ISN summary and then kind of ending with it too. I'm really been liking that the last couple episodes with the whole ISN, summary and like kind of this is what's going on, I really enjoyed that too. Small thing I wanted to throw in.
I'm glad you brought up that theme, and I'll close it out with that real quick. But I think the whole theme of this, Jakar calls it out, Londo calls it out, ISN calls it out, is we're making history in this episode. And I love Jakar's line, you don't make history, you can only hope to survive it. And I think the ISN tags in there kind of helps that along a lot.
So say we all.
Okay, let's go ahead and wrap it up there for Rising Star. We're going to go to our newbies now and ask them if they have any lingering questions about sex and candles or if they have any predictions. So let's go to Nicole first. Questions and predictions. And I already have your one prediction that Ivanova will return in season 5.
Okay, so a couple questions. At the very end, when Delenn was giving her monologue, she was talking about how they had the Drock War, the Telepath War, they had the Interstellar Alliance had some problems, but it all came back. And so it led me to believe that maybe the next episode will be in the future. So is that going to happen? They basically just kind of told us all the shit that's going to go down in the future, right? So is the next episode or next season going to start in the future is my first question. Did Delenn and Sheridan actually get married, right? They did, because they said that they had a secret wedding on one of the White Stars and then they were in bed together and she couldn't do that unless they were officially married. So I'm assuming that they actually did get married officially.
Yeah, they followed the ceremony. She watched him sleep 3 times and now it's time to bang on an
inclined bed.
Yeah.
I did love the touch of Sheridan kind of, slowly falling off the bed and then readjusting himself.
Yeah. And no Wahoo this time. So,
Well, Lemire wasn't listening in this time.
That's true.
Just Jakar. Well,
Yeah,
viewing then.
watching, yeah.
So with Lanier and Jakar together, we've almost got, we've got the sound and we got the visuals. We're good.
Oh my God. So those, I mean, obviously I want to know what happens next, but it's kind of too broad. So I guess my prediction wise, I don't really have any because I felt like this was wrapped up so nicely that I just have no idea what to expect next.
So we can confirm one thing, and it's that the beginning of season 5 does start after the conclusion of season 4. So we can confirm that.
Thanks, Kevin.
But just to confuse things even more, we will watch a movie that will go back in time before then. So have fun. Okay, let's go to Emily next. Questions, predictions.
Questions. Will the Senate actually approve Mars independence? Because they said she was going to do an executive order, but she made the comment they'll need Senate approval. So are they actually going to give Mars their independence, or is someone going to be a little bitch and try to stop the process?
Are you asking if somebody's going to be a Rand Paul? Maybe. Could be. Who knows?
I mean, I'm sure, yeah. What actually is going to happen to all the little Clark fans? Like, do they start trying to fuck shit up? Do they get in the way? Do they cause more problems? Do they get put in jail?
They join the Proud Boys.
Probably. Way back when we were still dealing with prophecies, little shadow minions were on Centauri Prime because there was one attached to Londo. So are they still hanging out on Centauri Prime, on Earth, anywhere else? We haven't really seen much of who got left behind.
We do know that the Regent, who gets a call out this episode, has a keeper. That's the only person we know now, because the only other keeper we saw was blowed up on Mars.
Yeah. So how many are still out there plotting and planning to cause chaos? And can the Narn and Centauri actually maintain some sort of alliance in this new league? Like, how long can that realistically last? And just for funsies, does anyone else get really cool, like, nightgowns? Because, like, Jakar had the robe and Ivanova had the nightgown and the robe set. I feel like we need more nightwear, night clothing options to discuss. That's it.
I have nothing. Jessi, questions, predictions.
Okay. I don't have any questions, but my prediction is this. I don't know what's going to happen in the next episode because I have no fucking idea what could possibly happen since it all happened today. But I say that season 5 starts 20 years in the future. Sheridan's dead. Delenn has their kid. Ivanova is rocking the captain position of Babylon 5. And Marcus has somehow come alive.
Man, if your prediction's right and Sheridan's dead, Emily is going to love season 5.
I don't think. Well, I mean, didn't they say he was only getting 20 years?
That's what Lorianne said. Up to 20 years, give or take.
Up to 20 years. Well, and then today, didn't they say 20 years in the future?
She definitely called out 20.
So he's dead, and they have a kid. And let's see, Jakar kills Londo with an eye patch in the library.
Kills him with the eye patch.
In the library with an eye patch. Yep. Yeah, fuck you guys and your Beyond the Rim. That's all that was. I hope you fucking have a grand time.
I hope they talk about underpants and nightgowns.
Yeah.
Yes. We'll have an
I
entire
don't think
segment.
you'll be disappointed with season 5 in that particular aspect.
Underpants and nightgowns?
I will give you my next idea for the follow-up podcast is all of us newbies get together and listen to each and every Beyond the Rim.
I want a commentary track.
And then we film the ass kickings that ensue.
So it's that scene from Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back where they go beat the shit out of everyone from the internet.
Yes, yes. On such and such date, Scott said, and then I just punch you in the throat.
Yes.
Get the rolled up newspapers ready.
Yep.
I think it'll be interesting to find how much throat punching I get versus how much throat punching Blake gets, because Blake is as much an asshole on Beyond the Rim as I am.
Listen, understood. Right? But Blake's in Oregon. So it's a little bit, I only get like one chance every 20 years to punch Blake in the throat. So.
And this one's for Blake.
It's like Haley's comment. Every 20 years, Blake gets punched in the throat.
Yeah.
This is not going to afford that fucking river to come throat punch me. Love it.
I'm not yet, but I'll tell you, I may.
After she listens to season 1 of Beyond the Rim, I don't know.
Episode 1, season 1, we're fucking fighting. It's fine.
Gathering Beyond the Rim is going to be great for you, Jessi. It's going to be fun. I don't know. I can't pinpoint all of them, but I know you definitely factored into the first Beyond the Rim with the Gathering. I love this lady. I hope she's around for a long time.
What happens?
Takashima.
We'll just do instead with Blake, we'll just put him on the podcast while we're listening to Beyond the Rim, and you can listen to me fucking verbally tongue lash him every chance I get.
We'll send him a box of glitter that explodes in his house.
Exploding glitter. Take that.
Sound
bitch.
like I've not experienced that from you before.
Jesus. Okay. Justin, let's bring the sucker in for a landing. Justin, questions, predictions.
All right. Crash landing here, folks.
Launchpad.
So just as a side note to my fellow newbies, remember what Bing Crosby said on Family Guy. If you ever need to beat somebody, use a sack of Valencia oranges. It won't leave a bruise, and it'll teach them who's boss. I, for one, do have a couple questions about sex. One, how could they not notice a random eye sitting on their fucking coffee table watching them?
Right?
As he's staring at Delenn's whatever package she's got.
Yeah. And a follow-up question, just for scientific purposes, is the Sheridan Delenn sex tape available online anywhere?
Woohoo! Asking for a friend.
Asking for a friend.
To the newbies.
And they're in an inclined bed, so their view of the room is better. So they should definitely see the eye.
Wondering what you're doing when you have sex, that you're inventorying the knickknacks around the room.
I'm about ready to say, that's when you're bored. It's like,
you're doing something wrong at that point.
I see you have a snow globe. Oh, I did like that Londo. We never talked about the Londo Jakar joking about Jakar's small, anatomy and getting off too quick.
Oh, the whole 2 minutes. The whole 2 minutes.
And then Londo like touching himself as he's doing it.
Yeah, that was a little creepy and uncomfortable.
Continue, Justin.
Then my next question is: was Garibaldi and Lise watching Looney Tunes while they were boffing?
You don't?
His second favorite thing?
Now we know what Garibaldi's first favorite thing is.
I was told there'd be a boom. There's no boom.
If you're paying attention to Looney Tunes, you're doing it wrong.
I just want to know that between Sheridan and Delenn, who's boning who?
Bonefetish.com. Coming soon.
Always with the one-liners, Mike. Always.
Yeah, good
He
job.
just likes to slide him right in there.
How do I even finish this now?
I don't know.
Okay, so serious questions. Does Ivanova actually show up at some point in season 5 as like a cameo? Like, does she kind of bounce in for guest appearance? Predictions. With some of the foreshadowing we've seen about Centauri Prime and Londo being Emperor, I think a lot of the cracking that they were talking about at the end with the Alliance has to do with Centauri Prime. So I think there's going to be a lot of trouble there before this is all resolved. I do believe that Garibaldi does end up going back to Babylon 5, because that was our whole conversation when they were in bed, because who doesn't love post-coitus conversation about, are you going to go back to your old job or not? I do believe that Garibaldi will go back to Babylon 5, and I hope he takes Lise with him. I think finally they resolve that whole thing about Garibaldi leaving Lise behind, so he rectifies that by taking her back to Babylon 5, and they live happily ever after. And then my last prediction is more of a hope. I can't wait to see what happens if Garibaldi gets his hands on Bester.
Agreed.
That was the one.
That whole threat was Sheridan saying, you don't need to be afraid of me. You need to be afraid of this man over here. I 100% hope that comes to fruition.
Yeah, that was the one question I forgot to ask was, does Garibaldi get to Bester and like what happens to him?
We'll go ahead and leave it there with our newbies for now. We'll be back next week after we've already discussed A Rising Star. Next week we'll discuss the deconstruction of falling stars. Until then, please be sure to like, subscribe, follow, all of that good stuff, and we will be back after the credits to talk about all these questions and predictions. Until next week, I'm Scott, and with me has been
Blake, and I don't know why the hell I'm here.
Justin, and I know exactly why I'm here.
Emily.
Kevin.
I don't know why I'm here.
Nicole.
Mike.
And Jessi. And I'm just here for fucking Centauri sex.
Jessi, I'm gonna spoil something for you right now.
No.
You will see Londo's dicks again.
No, I don't want to though. I'm good. I was just joking. I'd much rather see
Narn Anatomy since they have a pouch.
Yes. I'd much rather see Narn Hub than Centauri Hub. Thank you.
Too late. You wished for it. Now you get it.
Now you get it.
Okay. Be gone,
All right,
newbies.
I'm going to bed.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Poodles, poodles.
Bye.
hold on, I'm not done. What's our code word for today if everybody's made it to this moment?
Oh,
and
that's
it's
a good point.
Shenanigans. Gotta be a different one.
Narn Hub.
Narn Hub.
If you've gotten this far, tell us with Narn Hub.
Bye, guys.
I don't know what we're talking about.
Thank you for listening to Grey 17, a Babylon 5 podcast. You can find all the places to listen to and watch this podcast at anchor.fm/Grey17podcast or youtube.com at Grey17podcast. We want to hear from you, so join the conversation at Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, or Patreon. Be sure to subscribe and leave a review where you are listening to or watching this podcast. Grey 17 is not affiliated with, and the podcast has not been prepared, approved, or licensed by Warner Brothers or any other owners of the Babylon 5 copyright. All clips included in this podcast are the intellectual property of the respective copyright holders. They are included here for purpose of review, and no infringement is intended. The opening and closing themes are available from Falling Matter on YouTube.
And what's out there? The rim. And beyond that? The truth.
Welcome back to Beyond the Rim. Again, this is a spoiler section. If you have not watched past Rising Star or you just can't remember what happens next, you should leave now because we will be answering all of our newbies' questions and predictions. Guys, let's go ahead and get started with that, with their questions. The first one is Emily with her trust issues again. Will the Senate actually approve Mars independence or will they screw over Mars?
Luchenko is the Senate. It's a done deal.
Yeah. I am the Senate.
Oh, God. Usually I'm the one that brings that shit up.
So yeah, no. I think it goes back to the fact that she is a very powerful president and she can get things done. Okay. What happens to Clark's people who are left behind? The remaining Proud Boys, as Justin put it.
They went to the stellar version of Argentina.
They'll probably build some statues of them, name a few colleges after them.
Oh, man.
All the bad kids go to Clark Elementary School.
We will hear from a couple of them in season 5.
But they say it's about history and heritage.
Yeah, it's my heritage.
If you're going to leave us after hearing that, good. You should.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, we will get a little bit of our Nazi friends showing up in season 5, but not too much.
Your heritage was shorter than the Shadow War.
This is true. How many keepers are still out there? Question mark.
At least 2.
Yeah. I mean, we know of the one with the Regent, which will be passed on to Londo, and then we will find out through several different means that David, son of Sheridan and Delenn, will have one in a gift that he's to open on his 18th birthday. How long can the Narn and Centauri continue to work together? About, 1/3 of the way through season 5? Yeah, I think that's one of the big things that's going to come out of season 5 that actually is worthwhile, is that whole arc with Centauri Prime.
Yeah.
And Londo and the fall of Bo, which I think, again, Justin pointed out in this episode, he likes that Londo got redeemed. Oh, I'm sorry. Just wait. And finally, for questions, does Ivanova have a season 5 or multiple season 5 cameos? Yes and no.
I wouldn't really call it a cameo.
Well, and
just a mention.
Yeah, if you are, yeah, she does get a mention. That's a little rough, but most folks who listen to Beyond the Rim know this story, but I do know that there are a few folks who are, doing a full watch through and maybe not the whole inside story. So after Rising Star, the episode that was filmed next was Sleeping in Light, which was going to be, and we'll talk about this with our predictions, a 20-year flash forward that was going to end the show. After Sleeping in Light was filmed and Claudia was in it because she was still under contract, they did find out from TNT that they were going to be continued for season 5. So Sleeping in Light got put in the can, and then they filmed Deconstruction of Falling Stars, which Claudia is not in for a reason. So does she show up in season 5? No. Does her season 4 episode that she filmed show up in season 5? Yes.
It's such a weird thing. Like, I wonder how many times in the history of television that something like that has happened.
It can't be many. I don't know of any off the top of my head.
So either. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
this is a very strange set of circumstances for sure.
Yeah. I'm glad the way that they did it that way, because we do get Claudia back at the end. Although you could argue, and I would not disagree with you, that it is sad that Lockley doesn't show up in Sleeping in Light because, of course, she wasn't cast yet.
Yeah.
So she doesn't get the final send-off, but we do get Claudia back for that one. And of course, she will be back for the movie, The Road Home, but we have a little bit to go before we get to that as well.
She's not in the beginning at all either.
Yeah, she is. Briefly, because there was some casting talk about that within the beginning. Claudia was talking about they were looking at younger actresses to play her because she was visiting her brother who was heading off to the Battle of the Line, and they were looking for younger actresses. And Claudia literally brought in a picture of herself from years before and said, I'm the same fucking person.
Well, it's because she was only in her 20s when she filmed Babylon 5. But yeah, so she is in that one. So
that's right. I remember that scene.
Yeah.
It looked believable. For sure.
And I'm sure she shows up in some of the clip show stuff. I haven't watched in the beginning in a while. Okay, predictions. Ivanova will be back for season 5. She is done.
No, sorta.
We'll talk about this more. I need to go back and read Claudia's book again so I have it all up in my head. But we'll talk about the whole issues that came up and why she left. I still think it was a he said, she said, and they both were miscommunicating with each other because JMS says one thing, Claudia says one thing, and when you get to the middle of it, you kind of get the whole story. We'll talk about that here probably at the start of season. The next episode or next season will be in the future.
Well, yeah, I mean, it takes place after the one we're in.
Well, okay, but that's not what she meant, Blake.
I couldn't help screwing with her on that point. It was funny.
But yes, Deconstruction of Falling Stars will be in the future.
Yeah, it'll be 1 year, 100 years.
Yeah, it's something.
500 years and a million years in the future. And it is an amazing episode. And Kevin
Not
is wrong.
really. But you can be wrong. I'm not afraid to have an unpopular opinion when I'm right.
Okay. Season 5 starts. This is Jessi's double down. She'll take Nicole's future and she'll raise it with. Season 5 starts 20 years in the future. Sheridan is dead. Ivanova is in charge of B5. Delenn is raising Sheridan and her kid. And Jakar kills Londo with an eye patch.
Is this wish casting? Or
yes,
what?
I told you this right here would be Emily's favorite season.
From the end of season 5.
No. Yeah. So no, that's not what happens.
Well, I mean, change Ivanova from being in charge of B5 to taking over the Rangers and go to sleeping in the light at the very end of it. Sheridan's dead. Ivanova's in charge of the Rangers. Delenn does have David, and Jakar has killed Londo. So
this is all true.
Sleeping in the light.
Yeah. It's just she skipped season 5.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, some of us probably wouldn't mind skipping season 5.
It has its moments.
It does.
I'm interested. Much like I was pleasantly surprised with season 1. I'm interested to see how I feel about season 5 after I've watched it, because I think the last time I watched that dog of a season was probably back in the early aughts. So we'll see how it goes. The cracking of the alliance that Delenn mentions will come from Centauri Prime.
Always the fucking Centauri.
Largely so, yes.
Yeah, she's not wrong. I mean, it'll be a little bit more here and there, but
the telepaths have a lot to do with the cracking too. But yes, Centauri Prime always has a lot to do with it.
Mm-hmm. Well, it leads us to the Drak have a lot to do with it as well too, because they're the ones that screw with Londo and force that issue. Garibaldi does go back to B5, and he takes Liz with him. Oh, so close, so close.
Half right.
Well, Liz does eventually show up, and then he leaves with her after the drinking.
Yes. Jerry Doyle does have a contract for season 5, so he'll be at Babylon 5, unlike other people. But Liz will stay back at Mars to do exactly what she said she had to do. She said in this episode, I have to run Edgar's Industries. They're all rich. And finally, I hope Garibaldi gets his hands on Bester.
Well, you can hope in one hand and crap in the other.
There is a series of books where this absolutely does happen, but at the end, it's not as, I think it's done well, but it's not like the exciting Garibaldi gets to off Bester. Garibaldi captures Bester after a manhunt and gets him sent to prison, and Bester dies in prison, I believe because of an explosion. I have to go back and...
What a damn shame.
Yeah. Right before he dies, he opens his fist, because you know how Walter played it with his fist closed the entire time. He opens his fist and then he dies. Poetic. We'll go ahead and end it there. And again, thank you so much for continuing with us throughout this process as we get to nearly the end of season 4. We'll be back next week with Deconstruction of Falling Stars. And then we will do In the Beginning, the TNT movie. And then we will do our season 4 wrap up and move on to season 5. So until next week when we discuss Deconstruction of Falling Stars, I've been Scott, and with me has been
Blake,
Kevin,
and Mike.
And please remember to click all the links. Join us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. If you're listening to the audio podcast, check out YouTube and subscribe there. And if you're on YouTube, check out the audio podcast. And please, please, please leave a review. It absolutely does help. Thanks.
Good night, guys.
Have fun editing this.
At least I should have boffed him just once.